Good evening, Netherlands fans. 3-0 win over North Macedonia in the final group game in the Euros. Netherlands are safely through already to the last 16, but a positive performance tonight. We've got to see some different faces in the team. And a glorious night for Goran Pandev. We've got Aleksandar here from Macedonian Footy. He's going to fill us in on the North Macedonian point of view very shortly. But Mike, a 3-0 win. I think that it's as comfortable as it's gone, and I think that the group has gone as well as it could have gone for the Netherlands, to be honest.
Yeah, if you thought 2 weeks ago, it's the amount of pressure that was on De Boer after that Scotland result, and the amount of criticism he was getting, and everyone's thinking that maybe everyone's going to be an absolute disaster in the tournament to come out of the group. 3 wins from 3, only 2 goals conceded, although the defence has looked a bit shaky at times, but 2 goals conceded, and going into the last 16, looking forward to who they get. And that's just the nervy wait for the Netherlands fans, just to see who comes out of the best third place finishes. But all in all, it's a great group stages, and you can't criticise after 3 wins from 3.
And Aleksandar, I guess it wasn't a dreadful campaign for North Macedonia. The fact they got here is brilliant. It's brilliant to see. But what a final performance to see Goran Pandev go out with a guard of honour. And yeah, Wesley Schneider was in the stands and applauding him off, which is fantastic to see.
No, that was a great scene. I didn't expect the players to form a guard of honor, so that was a nice surprise. But that was great scenes. And then I saw Snyder, former teammate of Inter, applauding. So that was very nice. And I thought overall our performance in the first half was good. I thought the first half was pretty competitive. I thought the game in general was very open. I mean, it was fun to watch and all that. But then in the second half, the Dutch kind of took over, and you guys could have scored 5, 6, 7. I mean, it was in the second half, it kind of got ugly there.
Really positive from the Netherlands then. And if you're watching along live, make sure you're commenting in and letting us know what you thought of the game. Lots of comments are already in again. And if you're new to Football-Oranje, make sure you're liking the podcast if you're enjoying this kind of thing, and subscribe if you are new to see what we're up to more usually. Now, Mike's here, of course, here to give his thoughts from the Dutch national team. We'll put some of your comments to him right now. So there's a few that have come in. This one says that the last 10 minutes should be evidence enough why Promise never plays ahead of Gakpo. And it was really, Mike. What did you make of the players that came into the side today? I'll bring up a couple more mentioning this, because Matai said he was really happy for Gakpo to come on. My God, Stengs introduced Cope Miners to De Boer's wife or something. He can't get any minutes. So Cope Miners didn't get any minutes again today, but Gakpo did get some. And Mike says safe to say Gakpo and Gravenberch over De Roon. So there's different options coming in today, but I didn't think that we learned a lot about the different players in the squad. They're all performing well. They're obviously performing well in training, but only a handful of minutes really in this last game. They didn't get a start, for example. Do you think that this last game was positive for any of the players in the squad? Do you think that they're going to come in now and play a bigger role than they have done already?
I think the standout today was Malin. I think he had a role in, I think all 3 goals that Malin had a role in, and especially that little flicked pass to Memphis for the 3rd goal was exquisite. I thought he had a really, really good game, positive. Gravenberch, I don't think we saw the best of him today. I think he couldn't really get into the game. And I think the midfield, especially in the first half, really struggled. I think North Macedonia got through far too easily at times. And I think that the defence wasn't covered well by either Frankie or Gravenberch. So I think both of them just wanted to get forward, and that left gaps. So against the last 16, whoever to get in there, they need to be a bit tighter. They'll be punished. I don't think Gravenberch, as much as we all want him to start over De Roon, I don't think he really nailed down his spot. Then in the second half, I think Bergers came on, switched to 4-3-3. That's when Netherlands really ramped it up, and I think he did all right. I think he showed a few good touches, but probably not enough to convince De Boer that he's going to go from a 5-3-2 to 4-3-3, in my opinion. I think he's going to stick out with it against whoever we get in the last 16. But I think out of all the people that came into the side, Malin was the most impressive. And then possibly Gakpo did well in the minutes that he got at the end. It was a lovely bit of skill that set up a chance for him towards the end, and was very nice. But yeah, Quincy Promise didn't do much when he came on. There's a few lax touches I think there's a lovely long ball over the top that you couldn't really bring down, and you could have squared it for Weghorst, but he wasted it. But yeah, for me, Malin was good. Burgos was all right. Timber was good again. Yeah, you always enjoy seeing Julian Timber. I think he's excellent. But yeah, I think that we know that the starting lineup is pretty much going to be what we've seen so far in the 5-3-2, and De Boer's just going to have to choose between Weghorst and Malin.
I agree. The formation isn't going to change, is it really? But Malin does present a really good option. When Weghorst came on, he looked really busy too and hit the crossbar. So you've got two really good strikers now who are going to be compete against each other to start. And you know that if one gets injured, you've got a very decent replacement. Just, of course, two very different types of strikers there with Malin and Weghorst. And I love these two comments here because they kind of sum up what everyone thinks of Martin de Roon. Dave says that de Roon is not better than either of the two in any way. So there's different midfield options. It's a shame. We're all surprised that De Boer didn't give Klaassen a run out and Gini a rest. But lots of stick for de Roon. And then Shahid says, this game provides why de Roon plays. Without a midfielder that stays back and provides some cover, we're being hit on the counter-attack all the time. Thoughts on Martin de Roon, Mike?
It's hard because when he plays, you don't really see him doing anything. And even against Ukraine and Austria, you can't say everyone's defence was perfect. And Austria created chances, Ukraine got loads of chances. So you can't say de Roon made Netherlands absolutely solid. I think today, as I said, the midfield didn't provide enough cover in the first half. But that's down to De Boer to tell one of them to sit deeper, which they didn't do in the first half. Both of them sort of wandered around and left big gaps. And I think that North Macedonia also targeted Blind again. I think Blind has become a target for teams with this lack of pace, because when North Macedonia got in behind, especially for the first offside goal, which was very, very close, it was on Blind's side. I know De Vrij was nearly playing on one side, but I was getting in behind Blind for pace. So I think that's the worry, is through the left-hand side, if you got Van Aanholt is pushing forward and leaving Blind isolated, then teams could get in behind like it did today. I don't think de Roon would have stopped that, because he's not been stopping it so far in the tournament. So that's why I think that we could have seen Koop Meiners, but for some reason De Boer doesn't fancy him. Could have seen Klaassen. He's not got a minute so far in the tournament. Again, De Boer didn't go with him. So yeah, I think it's going to be de Roon against whoever we get in this last 16, but he needs to step up his performances as well.
More on the last 16 coming soon. We can look at our potential routes to the final. We'll look at who's coming up in the last 16 potentially in a bit. And now, like I said, if you're watching on live, do comment what you're thinking of what we're saying, what you thought of the performance. And also, if you're not watching live, leave a comment for us to get back to you on. We've been getting back to all your comments on the videos if you've not been watching live too. So we are Football-Oranje. We are Dutch football in the English language. So keep commenting, and if you're enjoying what we do, hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. Aleksandar, Mike was there talking about what North Macedonia could get into there, the things that potentially could have been weaknesses for conceding goals today. Do you think you created enough chances against the Netherlands to warrant a goal, to warrant a point? And what did you make of the Netherlands in general? Do you think they're a team that could go a bit further?
To answer your question, I didn't think we did enough to warrant a point. No, can you say we did enough to warrant a goal? I think so. I mean, we had 2 goals offside. The first one was close. Second one was clear offside. Yeah, Trajkovski hit the post midway through the first half. So I think you can make a case maybe we deserved the goal, but I think Netherlands could have easily scored 5 or 6. So ultimately, the Netherlands was the deserving winner. I don't think there's anything about that. And as far as from the Netherlands squad, I actually think Malin is a much better fit for your team than Weghorst, because he's much faster, he's better on the counter, and I think he's just a better fit to play with Memphis Depay. So I think Malin is going to keep his spot, and then I think de Roon will probably go back to the midfield, but everything else I think will be the same for you guys. So ultimately, I think you guys discovered Malin. I think it's going to be a better fit for Depay, because I just think they combine better than Weghorst, who's more of a big target man, and I don't think that's something that the Netherlands, the way they play, I think they can use the speed more. So I think Malin will keep his spot for the round of 16. And ultimately, in the round of 16, for me, it's all about matchups. If you get somebody from Group F, like Portugal, that's going to be tough. But if you get somebody from Group D, maybe from the group that has England, if you get somebody like Scotland, Croatia, or somebody like that, maybe you have a chance. So ultimately, it's all about matchups. I think it's good that you guys didn't finish second, because I don't think nobody wants to face Italy. That's going to be Austria. But I think if you guys avoid the third place team from Group F, I think you should have basically hopes that you can get to the quarterfinals.
And what do you make of North Macedonia in general? Were you happy with their performance at this tournament?
No, I thought overall, I mean, the play wasn't bad at all. I mean, the results were not there. 3 games, 3 losses. I thought against Austria, we played well for 70 minutes. The last 20 were a struggle. Against Ukraine, first half was bad, second half was good. And then in this game, first half was good, then the second half kind of fell apart. So, I mean, you can take some positives from it, but overall, you look at it, 3 games, 3 losses. So the coach is probably going to be let go. Pandev is retiring. So now a new generation will have to come in, and they're going to have to kind of show what they're all about.
For sure. I think that the changes afoot in North Macedonia now, but going with the fact that they got to this Euros, and that's positive in itself. What did you make of the attacking performance, Mike? Because there were lots more chances than the 3 goals suggest. Do you think that was more because North Macedonia tiring out, though?
Yeah, I think the first half, everyone's got to go. But for me, I think North Macedonia were very unlucky not to go in at the break, at least level.
Yeah.
I think the change to 4-3-3 helped in the second half, and the fresh legs there. And then once they got the second goal, it just seemed like they could score again and again after every attack. But I think that second goal was crucial to sort of kill off North Macedonia's sort of spirit a little. And then from then on, yeah, I agree. North Macedonia did look a bit tired or low on confidence, and everyone's gotten behind a few times and could have at least made it 4-5-0, but wasted a few chances. So yeah, I think that again going forward in the second half, positives, but the first half was negatives because of the way North Macedonia were troubling everyone's defence. And I think with the 5-3-2, that really has to be looked at, because if, for instance, it is Portugal, it's Bruno Fernandes and Ronaldo that are coming at you, not to all respect Goran Pandev. So it's a different prospect. So you've got to shore that up and not let those chances come again, because Portugal will take them 9 times out of 10.
No, that's right. There's some more comments then. One from Amir, that low-key, as much great chances and missed occurred between both teams, Holland seems to be exposed with their gap in midfield. I've got to say, the 5-3-2, it does make Netherlands quite flat in that teams can attack through the centre of the side, and that's where teams are getting their joy. It's where there's a space outside the box that teams can feel as though they can have a shot from outside the box, and if you're inviting that against like Ronaldo or something, then you've got a bigger problem. Against Ukraine, they took a chance, shot them into the top corner. I think that's more the problem with the formation rather than the attacking impetus of it, because actually attacking wise it's working really well, but defensively, despite the fact you think you have more defensive cover, it doesn't really seem to be there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that you're looking at the centre backs and they're all standing in a line on the edge of the box, and are inviting pressure, which isn't good, especially when you have Dumfries and Van Aanholt so far up the pitch. So yeah, it worries me going later in the tournament, because there's much stronger nations with better midfielders to come. If Bruno Fernandes is taking strikes at you from 25 yards, I expect him to beat Stekelenburg if he's given so much space, and that's the worry. De Boer's had 3 matches so far, and it's happened in every single one of them. So is he magically just going to turn it around against Portugal? The only thing I can think of is that you'll tell Dumfries and Van Aanholt to sit and not go forward as much, but then you lose one of your weapons, and Dumfries, who's been great and should have scored again today.
True that. Said thinks that we were too sloppy and inaccurate with passing. And Liam was positive about Marlon, thinking that he was a good link up with Memphis. Mattine thinks it's about time people stop saying drop Derone, and that because Gravenberch isn't much better. And there's so many options in attack against defensive teams. Better to play Marlon. Interesting opinion there. I actually think Marlon would be good against teams where there's a chance to a counter attack, because his pace could be lethal with Memphis. And Clay's saying about the formation here. Every time he's coming on saying about the 4-3-3, but today we do it and we score 2 goals in 15 minutes with 4-3-3. Look much better in general. Although, Clays, do you not think that maybe that was because North Macedonia tiring, and that going for goals, it didn't really matter what formation was played? That would be my counterpoint to that. Man of the match contender from Amir. Wijnaldum again, he's been cracking in this tournament. I've been so impressed with him. He's certainly pulled out the bag. It was similar to when Koeman got the best out of him when they were beating France 3-0. That Wijnaldum seems to be back now. Such a threat around the box. Stephen seems happy. A couple more comments I'll bring up before we go on to our next thing. So, and I think this is a question for Aleksandar, but I think you might have answered this already a little bit. How will North Macedonia look back on the Euros? What's general feeling? Aleksandar, if you're happy to answer that, I can flash a few more of the comments on screen coming in.
Yeah, for me, it would be positive. Just getting to the Euros, like you guys talked about, was a great experience. Ultimately, yeah, I think this group, I mean, it's not Group F. You don't have the big names like Portugal and Germany and France. But again, these are solid sides, Ukraine, Austria, and the Netherlands. And frankly, we just did not do good enough over the course of 90 minutes to get any result in any of the games. But ultimately, you can view it as a positive. And I think this experience will serve Yilmaz, Bardi, and the younger players well. So in the future, if they maybe reach another Euro or potentially a World Cup, they can kind of use it as something they can lean back on and say, okay, this is what we got to do. This is what we can do. And just kind of use that as experience to kind of better themselves.
Mm-hmm. And a comment has come in here for you, Mike. Thoughts on Frenkie? Oh, as a manager? Oh, hang on a minute. It's the wrong comment. There was another one about Frenkie, but I think it. Yeah, here we go. So Luke was saying about how Frenkie's been amazing for us. He's been absolutely fantastic, and I thought that he'd get some minutes off the pitch today because he deserves a rest after his season with Barcelona. But De Boer thinks not.
Well, he did come off, and he was replaced by Gakpo, so he did get some rest.
I obviously missed that.
Yeah, but yeah, he's having a great tournament. I think he was okay today. I think it was Austria that was his best game, and that was the real Frenkie. He had a bit of a quieter match today. I think Wijnaldum outshone him in the midfield. But yeah, going forward in the last 16, if Netherlands are going to get anywhere in the tournament, then you need Frenkie de Jong to step up because he's that good. And when it comes up against stronger midfields, you're looking at him to take control. And we'll see how he does if they do come up against the likes of Portugal or even Croatia. We all know that famous picture of when Ajax played Real Madrid and Frenkie de Jong with Modric looking absolutely bemused on his bum. So we'll see if that happens again with Netherlands face Croatia.
So Ryan said here, which team will we face in round of 16? I'm confused because there's 3 possibilities. I've got to say that I've not paid too much attention to this because I've just wanted to let it unfold and not want a team to win, say, or want a team to lose. But I think if people watching this back a few days later, they'll know exactly who we're facing in the last 16. But Mike, for those that are watching right now or the day after, who will the Netherlands face in the last 16? Because I don't really get it.
And either do I. I see a lot of possibilities that I'm just looking at some of the stats. People were saying that it'd been good if Austria and Ukraine had drawn today, so it's 4 points because you've already got Switzerland on 4 points. If you had another team on 4 points, that leaves 2 spots. The likelihood is that Croatia or Scotland, one of them's going to win. So that they'll go on 4 points. Then that would be leaving one of possibly if Poland beat Sweden, they'd go on 4 points as well, and then Spain beat Slovakia. Then that would be 4 nations on 4 points. But Ukraine didn't do it today, so it's looking like one team with 3 points is going to get through, and it's just the one that has the best goal difference. So you're looking at possibly Portugal at the moment, who have a +1 goal difference. If they don't get hammered by France, which we'll see what happens. France, after the Hungary game, might be a bit motivated to go out and put on a show. They might not. They might play again like they did against Hungary. But yeah, if Portugal are the ones that go through, I think it is likely to be them or a Croatia-Scotland. So we just need to wait and see who it is. The algorithm's crazy. The way this tournament is set up is mental. And yeah, we just need to hope for a bit of luck. Well, you got to play teams like Portugal eventually, but I'd rather avoid them because then you've got either Wales or a Russia/Denmark in the quarterfinals, and that's a much kinder route to the semi-finals than say if you had to place Portugal in the next round, who are an absolute bogey team for the Netherlands in major tournaments. So we just need to wait and see how it unfolds in the next couple of days.
So is that how it works? They're likely to face a team like Denmark in the quarterfinals?
Yeah, because Wales are into the matchup and they've got the second place team in the Denmark
right
Finland Finland, Russia group. So it could be Russia or Denmark that they face, or even Belgium if Belgium slip up tonight. And then that would be the opponents in the quarterfinal.
I see. That makes sense. And then who could come into it in the semis if they can get that far? Which route is it? Is it the Italy one, or is it one from the group of death?
To be honest, I'm not even looked that far.
Let's go. What game
we're going to get in the semi-finals. So I'm not going ahead and saying that we're going to get to the semi-finals. So I'm not even looked ahead to that. But I know that they wouldn't face France and Italy to the final if they got through that far. That's all I know.
No, that's fair enough. I think that is quite a favourable draw then.
From my standpoint, you definitely want to avoid Portugal. Portugal is no fun to face. I frankly think for the Dutch, the best option would be to face whoever finishes third in the Spain group. Like, let's say Spain beats Slovakia. Maybe if you guys get Sweden or Poland, I think that would be a good route. But you definitely don't want to face Portugal because that's going to be a very tough matchup because they're ruthless and they're not gonna. You give them a chance, they're gonna convert. So Portugal definitely not. And Croatia is always tricky. I mean, Scotland, absolutely. If you can face Scotland, great. But if you face Croatia, I mean, they always seem to bring it on the big stage. So I would not want to face Portugal or Croatia. I think Poland or Sweden would be probably the best teams if, like, let's say whoever finishes third in that group, let's say Spain beats Slovakia, and then maybe if Poland can beat Sweden, I think Poland would be a very good matchup because I think their coach also is it's not that he's under pressure as well. So I think Poland would be the best matchup for you guys in the round of 16.
I think Portugal's not impossible though. Whilst you've got Ronaldo, who's just on fire and seems to be in still the form of his life, I think that performance against Germany showed that they don't like playing a team with 5 players in defence. And the wing-backs are so important for Germany the other day. Why can't the Netherlands do the same thing? But yes, Portugal have got lots of attacking players, but they were frustrated for so long against Hungary and conceded lots of goals against Germany. So it makes me think there's chances there.
Never count them out. I mean, the last time they won it in the group stage, they got 3 points. They barely got through, and then they just kind of scraped through. So that's the kind of team that you kind of ignore their form in the group stage. When they get in, when they're just history, track record, the winning pedigree they have, I would not want to face Portugal. I don't care how they look in the group stages because last time they got 3 draws, they get through, and then they win the whole thing. So I would not want to face Portugal. No way.
I agree. I just want to avoid that group of death as much as possible. So Portugal would be my least, the one I would want the least. I think, going into the weekend's games, I thought Germany were the one that you'd kind of want out of 3 of them, but even then they look scary against Portugal. So avoiding all those teams until as far as we can get would be ideal.
Interesting. Let's get a few more comments up about today's performance against North Macedonia. Still licked to 2 clean sheets now. Defence is solid. Only question mark is Stekelenburg, who looks slow to react. Interesting thoughts there. I think this is Clay's coming back to me about the formation. So a lot of the players are used to a 4-3-3. Of course they are. Yeah, they've been playing it for a long time. So the switch to a 5-3-2 must be a surprise to some of the players. I can't get them all up. But Liam thinks that Portugal look terrible defensively. Look at what the German wing-backs did to them on Saturday. Dumfries have a field day.
But no, Portugal kind of lulls you to sleep though. That's their specialty. They kind of lull you to sleep, and then when you kind of underestimate them, that's when they strike. So Portugal, trust me, you don't want to face Portugal in the round of 16. Excuse me, you don't want to face them.
To further tempt fate, Zane says, "I think we'll batter Portugal in midfield, and the pacing behind will be good."
That's Portugal's specialty. I mean, they kind of look vulnerable in the group stage. Everyone's like, "Oh, let's get Portugal," and then they beat you 1-0. I mean, I just would not want to face them.
No,
it'd be 1-0 after extra time, after Portugal grinds you out.
Yeah, but it's just fascinating to see the positivity in the comments today. After I begged positivity after the Ukraine match, saying that there were lots of positives in that match and they won a good game. And before the tournament, I think we're all really quite negative towards the Netherlands and how far they've come, the fact that there's now a lot more positivity in the comments here. I think it's just, if you win a game, everyone's really happy. You win a group, everyone thinks that you're going to beat everybody. But it wasn't the strongest group, and I think everyone has to remember that too. So there's a balanced point of view in here somewhere. But it is interesting to hear different pundits and commentators now thinking and saying that the Netherlands are up there with their favourites-ish behind that France sort of group. That the Dutch can get really far in this. A lot of people saying they like the look of how they're playing. That there's a good vibe around what they're trying to do, rather than a negative one, which you can say for several other teams in the competition. there's been a lot of positivity around the Dutch, and I think that it could be a special tournament. I don't think that they're going to be going the whole way, but if they get a horrible team in the last 16, and so be it. I actually think they can get through that kind of tie, but it will be towards the semi-finals or finals where I think they might just fall short. I just think that there's a couple of teams out there that have that extra quality, and people are ticking off Italy, saying that Italy won't get that far. But even though they've been in a weaker group like the Netherlands, I do think Italy can go very far in this. Aleksandar, can I have your thoughts about who you think might win the competition?
For me, I mean, I've been very impressed by Italy. So I would say going in, I thought France was my slight favorite, but now after watching the games, I think Italy, for me right now, is the favorite to win. I think they set up well. Austria is not going to be an easy game for them because Austria is a very fit side, so they're going to definitely be made to work for that game. But I think Italy, looking at on which side of the bracket they are, I think it sets up perfectly for them. I think Italy, for me, is the favorite to win it all right now.
I also think Italy can beat France. They've got this the way of beating a team, and Mancini's in charge. He loves a 1-0 win. That against France could be important. Who are your favourites still, Mike?
I think, yeah, I agree. Italy have looked very, very good. I think Mancini's got them set well, and they even rested a lot of players yesterday against Wales, and he still ground out the win. But when you're bringing on players like Chiesa as a second option, it shows you how strong their squad is. Yeah, I think that it's just a tournament where the bigger nations that you expected to do well haven't stepped up yet. England were talked about before this tournament. Look at what happened to them against Scotland. And Belgium have looked okay. We just need to see them against when they get tested and see how they do defensively. I think there's still a question mark around Belgium going far in the tournament, but you need to wait and see what the France reaction is to that draw, because that was a terrible performance from them. So yeah, I think that Italy are the most impressive team for me at the moment. But anything can happen. You'll see a team like, God forbid, England get through, scrape through, then they'll step up when the games actually matter. So we'll see how it goes. And then you never know, Scotland might scrape through, and then you never know, Billy Gilmore will take them to the final to face Holland. So you just never know.
Is he supporting Scotland really?
No.
Couple of things, everyone watching along, thinking about what's going to happen later on in the tournament. No way they want to face Portugal. Buck thinks that watch France get knocked out, but it's football. These things can happen. They should not be considered close to favourites. Still think there's 6 teams better than us, but might look out with a draw. Yeah, if they can get through to the semi-finals relatively unscathed, and they're well prepared to take on a top team, then let's not get ahead of ourselves. And there's plenty more football to be played. Like I've already said, if you enjoy these podcasts, do give us a like and subscribe if you're new to Football-Oranje. You can, of course, go to our website and check out plenty more things that we're doing after this game. So there's going to be a player ratings from Mike very soon about the game. And we'll be doing a match preview of whoever the Netherlands face in the last 16, coming out a little later this week. So once we know who they're going to be playing, we'll get a preview out to you that will be out on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, a normal podcast. And we'll do a match reaction definitely after the last 16 tie. Will it be good news or bad news for Netherlands? And before we go, the Football-Oranje wristbands have been selling really well since the new Euros have started. I think that it's really done us some good. And like I said, if you can get yourself one, you get to have a little bit of memorabilia from the tournament, and you do also get to support what we do on Football-Oranje. We wouldn't be able to do the things we're doing right now without your support. You can get a link to that in the description on YouTube. Aleksandar, would you like to give a quick heads up, if people hadn't watched our preview of the Group C, as to who you are?
Well, I run the Macedonia footy account, so I mean, this was a good group. I appreciate the Netherlands. What you guys did at the beginning of the game when you gave Pandev, a Dutch jersey, 122. So that was a nice touch. So thank you guys for that, and good luck to your team in the round of 16 and moving forward.
Cheers. And of course, if you want to follow your Macedonian football, go and follow Aleksandar on Twitter. And Mike, just a final thought from you then. Going into the last 16, how are you feeling?
Excited. I think that the positivity is there now after the group stages. Now it's just a case of waiting to see who they get, and then bring it on for Sunday. I think they got 6 days to prepare, 6 days of waiting to see how it's gonna pan out. you know, everyone's top in the group so comfortably goes against what we expected, and we just need to hope that the luck is there with the draw. One thing I have to say is I think Frank de Boer does deserve a bit of praise.
I was actually going to ask you, are you going to eat some humble pie now about De Boer? Because like you, Mike, I was also very negative about Frank de Boer. He's won the group, 3 wins out of 3.
Yeah, I think we all gave him a bit of stick, and you know, going into the tournament wasn't great, and it is funny to see the planes flying over trying to give him tactical advice, and it's all good. But I think we can safely say now he's staying on after the tournament. I think after this group stage, the KNVB aren't going to sack him, because if Netherlands go out in the last of 16 to say Portugal, they'll say, it's Portugal, it's fine. So I think he's avoided the disaster that would have got him sacked anyway. So I think Frank de Boer is here to stay for now, and I think he deserves a bit of credit for getting 3 wins out of 3.
And lots more things to come then from the Netherlands, hopefully in this tournament. And just a quick show of appreciation. Thank you everybody for commenting along. Bedankt voor het kijken iedereen. There you go. There's my Dutch. But thanks everyone for watching, and more to come from us soon. Bye for now.